Anwar Sadat, assassinated by his own soldiers during a military parade. He was reviewing. He had just secured Egypt's first genuine peace treaty with Israel, a diplomatic achievement that won him a Nobel Peace Prize. It also made him a marked man to militants within his own military who viewed the peace as an unforgivable betrayal. During a formal military parade meant to celebrate his own armed forces, a truck stopped directly in front of his reviewing stand, and the soldiers stepping out of it belonged to the very army he was there to honor. Anwar Sadat became president of Egypt in 1970, following the death of his predecessor Gamal Abdel Nasser, and went on to pursue a genuinely significant, historically consequential shift in Egypt's broader foreign policy throughout the following decade, most notably culminating in the 1978 Camp David Accords, a formal peace agreement with Israel negotiated with direct American mediation that made Egypt the first Arab nation to formally recognize and establish peaceful diplomatic relations with Israel. A genuinely historic diplomatic achievement that earned Sadat, alongside Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin, the Nobel Peace Prize in 1978. What made this genuinely significant diplomatic achievement simultaneously directly dangerous for Sadat himself was the specific, considerable domestic and broader regional backlash the peace agreement generated, since substantial portions of the broader Arab world viewed Sadat's decision to formally recognize Israel, absent any comparable, broader resolution of the Palestinian territorial situation, as a genuinely significant betrayal of broader pan-Arab solidarity, a perception that isolated Egypt diplomatically within the Arab League for a considerable subsequent period, while simultaneously generating genuine, severe domestic opposition from various Egyptian political and religious factions who viewed the peace agreement as fundamentally unacceptable, regardless of whatever practical diplomatic or economic benefits it may have actually provided Egypt. This domestic opposition proved genuinely, most dangerously concentrated among specific militant Islamist factions, including members connected to organizations that viewed Sadat's broader governance, encompassing both the Israeli peace agreement and Sadat's domestic crackdown on Islamist political opposition more broadly, as representing a fundamental, unacceptable departure from what these specific groups viewed as appropriate Islamic governance. A genuinely significant ideological opposition that, unlike more conventional political disagreement, specifically included individuals prepared to pursue direct violent action against Sadat personally. On October 6, 1981, during a formal military parade in Cairo, specifically held to commemorate the anniversary of the 1973 October War against Israel, an event Sadat attended in his official capacity as president, reviewing Egypt's own armed forces, a group of Egyptian army officers connected to an Islamist militant organization, having successfully infiltrated the parade's formal military participation, halted a military truck directly in front of the presidential reviewing stand under the apparent pretext of formal ceremonial participation, before the truck's occupants suddenly disembarked and opened direct gunfire on the reviewing stand, specifically targeting Sadat. The attack, carried out by soldiers Sadat's own security arrangements had specifically trusted as legitimate participants in his own military's formal ceremonial parade, proved genuinely, immediately fatal, with Sadat killed during the attack alongside several other individuals present in the reviewing stand, while additional officials present, including Sadat's eventual successor Hosni Mubarak, survived the attack despite also being present at the specific location targeted. The specific perpetrators, formally identified and captured following the attack, were directly connected to Egyptian Islamic Jihad, a militant organization whose stated objectives included establishing a specifically Islamist government within Egypt, with the group's formal justification for the assassination explicitly citing Sadat's peace agreement with Israel, alongside his broader domestic policies, as representing exactly the kind of fundamental religious and political betrayal the organization considered sufficient justification for his assassination. The assassination's aftermath produced genuinely significant, immediate practical consequences within Egypt itself, since Hosni Mubarak, having survived the same attack that killed Sadat, formally assumed the presidency himself, subsequently maintaining Egypt's continued formal peace relationship with Israel despite the considerable domestic and regional opposition that specific policy had already demonstrated it could generate, while simultaneously implementing genuinely significant, sustained security and political measures specifically intended to prevent comparable future attacks against Egypt's own political leadership. What made Sadat's assassination genuinely, particularly significant beyond Egypt's own immediate domestic political situation was the broader, considerably wider historical context the attack reflected, since the specific ideological motivations underlying the assassination, viewing Sadat's peace agreement and broader governance as representing an unacceptable religious and political betrayal, warranting violent response, reflected broader ideological currents that would continue proving genuinely significant to considerably wider regional and international security developments across the following decades. What makes Anwar Sadat's assassination endure as one of history's most significant political killings isn't simply the genuine historical significance of the specific diplomatic achievement that had made him a target in the first place, considerable as that achievement genuinely remains, but the specific, deeply unsettling circumstance that the same formal military ceremony, specifically intended to honor Egypt's armed forces, became the exact setting in which members of that same military carried out his assassination. A genuinely direct, immediate demonstration of exactly how thoroughly the domestic opposition his peace agreement had generated extended into the very institutions formally responsible for his own personal security and protection. If stories like this, where a leader's greatest diplomatic achievement became the exact reason members of his own military decided he needed to die, are exactly what you come here for, subscribe to The Grave Details, because history holds more stories like this than most people will ever know.